everything. Like I can just forget. It's just not there. And so it lets me know that there's an aspect of myself that is very, very alive and content and accessible, that has nothing to do with my ideas or my personality or my stuff or anything. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with anything, you know, except to do with everything. And it's very, very, very reassuring. It makes me feel at home in the world and in myself, and it makes me feel like the world is thrilling. Yeah, it's just a stunning thing to be doing. And so that can come and go when I'm making a piece. It can go through the whole piece. It can go through a whole body of work. Or it can take me 80% of a body of work before I break into it. And, you know, so it takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of faith. And sometimes it's extremely painful. And sometimes I look at the work I'm doing and I look back 10 years and I think, I haven't gotten any better. Like, there's no better here, you know, like I'm doing something different, but I don't know if there's any kind of sort of direction that I'm going in. Yeah, I don't know.
Because the bodies of work are so different, and what you bring into them is...
Yeah, it's very interesting. And so quite often I'm learning some material things. I'm learning about photography, or I'm learning about... so lately I've been working a lot with a very surrendered mark. So I'm learning about the idea of a mark, this sort of balance between willfulness and surrender, which is endlessly fascinating to me. So
again, there's that gap that you're talking about. Yeah.
And quite often the gap shows me that the two things are a flip side of each other, and that... I don't even know how to describe that. I know you know what I mean. Yeah. But it's
I call
so
it
fascinating.
A dynamic duality.
Yeah,
that's what I
like
call
they
it.
can convert into each other, and one depends on the other, and sort of is the other. Like I always think it's a very tantric view. You know, there's kind of this idea that opposites contain each other, and I feel very, very comfortable with that idea. Like it feels real to me. That everything contains everything else, and so it contains its opposite, and so. Yeah, but I could go way off.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with Matthew Fox. He's an exponent of a movement known as creative spirituality. And he said, creativity may be the nearest one-word definition we possess for the essence of our humanity, for the true meaning of soul. How would you respond to those thoughts?
That's big. Well, there is a bell that rings for sure. I have, as I was saying about when so what's coming up for me is the bog work, or that, you know, there was a time when I was at the roost, and where the crows are, and I was sitting on the hood of on the roof of my car. To get this shot, and the crows were all on the ground. I don't know, thousands of them, all on the ground and on the fences and everywhere. And then a train came by or something happened, and the whole ground lifted off and flew quite close, like over top of me. And I felt profoundly thrilled by that. A little frightened, which is part of it, right? But it felt like something very deep in me responded to that lifting off, and that, you know, ground becoming air, and it's something. So then that's one thing, to get that feeling, that thrill of inspiration. But without the creative process which drives us to want to express that, then we don't have the power to work through, get across the briar forest, to get through the material challenges, to you know, make something
of that experience,
or make something, period. Because you know, without things getting made, whether you're talking about babies or gardens or paintings or whatever, if nothing's being made, then we're in a kind of a downward spiral, right? So that the soul impulse, which is the life impulse, I think, is profoundly creative. It's about being, and being means, and being is a verb, so you're being a verb. And so I do think that creativity, in not the studio sense, but in the sense of that drive to connect, is that soul in motion for sure. Feels like that to me.
That's beautiful. Now, is there anything else, just as we close here, that you want to share with us about either about your process, or maybe opportunities or things that you have coming up in the near future?
I have really good things coming up, and so I'll kind of give that a plug. I do these trips, and so there's one that just came on the books for Morocco for the spring.
Wonderful.
Marrakesh and Essaouira, I think it's called, which is the sea. Beautiful trip. Angela Ritchie's organizing it. She did my Baja trip, which was one of the best ever. Spain in the fall of 2011. So 2011 is looking like a really fun year with Larry and Mike Powell, who do the Flavor of Spain trips, and this will be my third with them, and they're fabulous. Fabulous people, fabulous food, fabulous trip. So those are coming up.
Okay, and how could people find out more information about these? We've put up your email or your website address.
Yeah, that would be
find out more on your website.
Yeah, on the website. Right. I guess the other thing to say that I haven't talked about at all is maybe just to mention community. For some reason that comes up for me now, which is that making work can be a solo thing. I do a lot of collaboration, which helps that. I do a lot of teaching, which helps that. But I also am very interested in maybe just the idea of creative people being really present in their communities, and if that suits their nature. And so for me, that suits my nature, and so I, am really feel part of this village that I live in, and the kind of greater cast of characters that are not necessarily artists. So I've kind of got a lot of art and music and poetry friends, but then there's just all the rest of the people that are, my sister and brother-in-law are painters, live down the road, and then the fine arts school here in the village, and students, and the co-op in the building, and all of that. So I just want to say that part of making creative work for me is just being held in this sense of community.
A larger creative space.
Very grounded. Yeah, very, very safe, very free, like really free. So I feel very lucky to be here.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Well, you've certainly been a huge factor in creating that very supportive and creative community within this area, and I think also with your willingness to share in this sort of online community that we're putting together. I mean, that's also what I'm trying to create with
that's
this.
Really true. That's really true. To plug into each other and to share what we know and learn from each other, and it's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Suzanne.
Thank you.
You're wonderful.
My pleasure.